GameSpot recently interviewed some Blizzard higher-ups talking about warbands and hero talents. So let's get into this. In a GameSpot interview, Blizzard discusses the implementation of warbands, which has been a complete shit show, but will eventually be good, and hero talents, and how these systems create new frameworks for developers to use for the game in the future. I interrupt this news segment to bring you a grave message from Samiccus himself. I call myself many times a man of the people, and that's exactly what I am. I'm here to give back to the people. You can win yourself an epic edition by watching 1 hour, just one measly hour of my stream. Every hour of stream you view, you get 1 point, and you can use those points to enter the giveaway. The more you watch, the better chance you got. Subscribers get an extra 5 entries into the giveaway, so join the stream. Come on in, stop by, say hi, and enter for your chance to win an epic War Within edition. That's right, get your early access, get in, and be the degenerate you truly are. Here it is. With the systems of warbands, World of Warcraft is becoming a simpler and more flexible game, which is good. That's good for us. Players who have multiple characters across the Blizzard's Battle.net accounts. The Dragonflight expansion flourished the idea to make systems more evergreen for players, which has been a great thing. I mean, dragon riding, probably one of the better things they've added to the game in a while, and it's an evergreen feature, which is very nice. I was slightly disappointed to see some particle effects disappear on some of these mounts, like Ashes of Alar and stuff, when you do dynamically ride them, but I guess there's system limitations. It is what it is. Anyways, Peter Hodge via GameSpot said, I think there really was a genuine desire to keep pushing. Dragonflight had a lot of really great improvements to evergreen systems and a lot of quality of life things. We wanted to continue that philosophy. What else is there in World of Warcraft that is due for a fresh look? We certainly get feedback all the time on those quality of life, things around making player alts easier or accessing to account-wide features. Definitely very high on the list. It feels about right. It feels like it's about the right time to bring a lot of those ideas out and under one umbrella feature. So he's talking about warbands, bringing things across the accounts, and even though things have been broken this week, we all do know deep down that warbands are a great feature. It's going to make playing the game better. It's going to make playing the game easier, and it's going to make playing alts more fun. Hero talents now. Dragonflight revamped the talent tree, the way the talent trees worked, and it was well received by a great majority of players. Yeah, that's right. In Dragonflight, I think the talent trees are actually in the best spot they've been in a long time. So when it came to hero talents, finding a way to further expand these new talent trees from Dragonflight without introducing too much complexity was the framework that Blizzard used to shape hero talents. George Valve responded to this, when they were talking about it, and he said, though each hero talent tree does feature some choice nodes where players can pick between two abilities, the fact is each talent tree is largely the same across all player specs and makes it easier to fine-tune and balance them. So basically he's saying that in reality your hero talent tree is basically going to be completely filled out. Everyone's essentially going to have the same thing when it comes to hero talent tree. There are slight choices here and there, but it's not as complex to balance as, say, your regular talent tree or your spec talent tree, where there's a lot more moving parts. It can vary so much more from person to person, and they have to basically balance for every little nuance that a player could do to make sure that nothing is too OP at the end of the day. So hero talent's breaking the game. I've been worried about it for a little while, but when I actually read this answer, I thought, oh, maybe they're not going to break things. Maybe they are going to be finely balanced because, yeah, there's not too many choices to be had with them. So we'll have to see how those end up balancing out. But so far, even the new talent reworks, at least from what I've seen, they're not too bad. Going on to talk more about hero talents, another defining framework of hero talents came down to class fantasy and pulling the existing lore from the World of Warcraft to make choices that players across the board would find interesting to see. So getting into that, George went on to say, but we also didn't completely remove stuff that felt too faction-specific from the table entirely, because at the end of the day, Dark Ranger Hunter is super cool. Yes, it's a little bit horde-oriented, but just because it's horde-oriented doesn't mean we should give up on the approach or that direction. And I think that was the right decision on their part. I mean, faction lines are blurred these days, it doesn't matter as much. So why not allow some factions, more faction-specific classes and specs and things like that to be cross-faction. At the end of the day, Shaman and Paladin, let's be honest, those are pretty faction-specific. I mean, Paladin was very much alliance-oriented, humans with the light and everything else, and Shamans were very much... Shamanism was an orc thing and a troll thing, let's be honest. When it came over to the Alliance, there had to be some interaction between the two for something like that to happen. Backtalk, whatever you want to call it, to allow Shamans on the Alliance. So once that happened, you know, that was the first indication that faction lines won't always be as hardcore as they are now, or as they once were. A nice interview from them. Some things that are still broken in the game. Cross-realm trading is currently disabled. Blizzard's trying to make sure that servers can stabilize before re-enabling some of these things, and some of these things are the reasons the servers broke. So cross-realm trading currently disabled. That's not the only thing. If you're doing Mythic raiding right now, there are broken things all over the place. Some issues include a Razageth buff, Mythic Sakareth. It's funny, when he ends Phase 1 to do his transition, instead of phasing the players out before he does his End Existence ability, he actually just leaves all the players on the platform and completely blasts everybody away. So this is freaking hilarious. Let me try to get the quality up here a little bit more. Yes, so you know how you're supposed to phase out, so this doesn't have... Yeah, he just freaking annihilates everyone, basically, and the bomb is going to go off. So people have to deal with that. There's other things that are broken. Mythic Tindril doesn't like to land anymore. He just stays floating above the platform, so that's a problem. Only ranged DPS can hit him at that point. And Mythic Farak evidently keeps just blasting people with his fire breath. So no Colossus spawn, and then he just goes across the platform and completely... he's done. Mythic Farak's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm sick of getting farmed. I'm sick of getting... I'm just going to change this fight up and blast everybody. So I don't know why this is happening. He just randomly goes across the platform and kills everyone. It's bugged. It's bugged as shit. So if you're Mythic raiding right now, you're going to have to deal with some of these bugs. But I'm sure Blizzard's working on some fixes. Speaking of fixes, they already have gone in and done a few things. By the way, Hunters are getting nerfed a little bit. Side note there. But some things that have been addressed by Blizzard. They addressed an issue where newly created evokers cannot queue for legacy content. They fixed a bug where players may have been unable to fly if they had not previously unlocked sky riding / dragon riding. So they were just basically stuck on the ground. Now it'll automatically turn on static flight, so that way you could still use that if you haven't unlocked dragon riding yet. And then using a character boost, race change or faction change no longer disqualifies a character from doing a Heritage Armor quest line. That's a good thing. Yeah, that would have sucked if that was the case. A new login screen has been data mined. Gone is the red fiery butthole, and welcome in the new, more of a portal look, right? Kind of a throwback to the original, a login screen where you could see into Azeroth. It looks like they're opening up, so now you can see Khazalgar. Yeah, so look at that. That could be the new login screen. People are still unsure as to whether this is going to happen, like when the expansion launches. They wanted to make it open up so you can see into Khazalgar. Who knows? But this is what it could look like. I like it a little bit more than what we currently have. I think the one we currently have is kind of plain, so it would be cool if this was even more, maybe like a griffin flying across the background here or something, but this is better than what we currently have, so we'll have to see if they continue to iterate on the login screen, but that's what we've been seeing right now in the data mining. Moving on to some Mythic affixes, the Oblivion Mythic affix is now live on the PTR. People have been testing it out. This is another new affix, and actually this one's pretty cool. So what happens is some orbs will spawn, and if you'll see them right here, these purple orbs coming into the boss. If the players get the orbs, it gives the party a buff, and if the orbs get into the whatever you're fighting here, this robot mech, if they get into him and you don't absorb them before they do, then the enemy takes less damage. So that's another Kiss Curse mechanic. Really, really cool. I like to see stuff like this. Oh, the login screen already changed on beta? That's pretty cool. I like to see stuff like this. Again, I think the Kiss Curse stuff has been really good addition to Mythic Plus, and I think these are some of the best affixes we've seen in the game in quite a while. So what happens exactly? If you do get the orbs, it is a stacking buff that grants 2% mastery and 1% leech for 20 seconds. So one player can give them to the whole party. If the orb hits the mob, instead the mob will take 10% less damage per stack. So you don't want those orbs to get in, because it looked like there were enough there to give them 100% less damage. per sec. So you don't want to deal with that. Make sure you get those orbs. I love the Kiss Curse mechanics. I think this is a pretty cool one. Oblivion is what this one is called. A new gigantic murloc mount has been data mined as well. This is pretty cool. I think these are some of the best mounts they've done, honestly. This one, we're not sure how you're going to get it yet. If you remember, the 6-month sub mount was the first time we ever saw one of these. This one probably going to be a store mount. That's what they're guessing right now. But a nice colorway on it, and another giant murloc boy that you'll be able to get. And then finally here, it looks like legacy content has become a little bit harder, at least for Shadowlands and BFA. So some raid testing recently found that all the raid bosses have been buffed by the following multipliers when comparing to the War Within pre-patch, comparing their War Within pre-patch health / damage values to their Dragonflight versions. So the Shadowland bosses have been buffed by 2.62 times for health and damage, BFA 1.68 times for health and damage, and then Legion and other expansions remained untouched. So that's interesting. Why would Blizzard buff legacy raid content? I have no idea. I don't understand what the point of that is. I mean, we got warbands now, so people are going to go try to get the transmogs and everything all the time. Why buff it? Were they getting one-shotted? That's the point, though. I don't understand. But there it is. I guess a little bit of a buff to some old legacy content. So the next time you go in there, be careful. A little bit harder, I guess.